Welcome to the Ada K Show. I'm your host, Ada K, and I am a criminal justice major. I am also a deaf courtroom commentator, breaking down the gripping courtroom drama while providing full ASL interpretation, making justice accessible to everyone. Grab a cup of Java and let's dive in. Don't forget, comment, like, and subscribe. And if you love this channel, please become a member. Good evening, everyone. I hope this finds you well on this wonderful Veterans Day evening. Excuse me. I hope you spent it with family, and I hope you honored a veteran today. If you don't know any veterans, send a prayer. But thank you so much to our veterans for your service. Thank you for your sacrifices. And also, I want to thank the families. The families also serve alongside. I'm a veteran's daughter, and I understand the sacrifices, the loneliness, the struggles of a spouse. So thank you so much. My daddy's in heaven. Happy Veterans Day in heaven, Daddy. Thank you for your service. Thank you. This is old, and I haven't been able to fit into it for years. I mean, like years. I have not been able to fit in this. This used to be one of my favorite things. I don't know. I'm not very Oriental, but I did like this. So yay. We have an interesting night ahead of us. We're going to be talking about a case that really is a sad, sad thing. Breaks my ever-loving heart. This is the troubled orphan red room trial, Florida versus Dima Tower. We're going to do a deep dive. Honey, thank you very much. Thank you, June. I'm hoping we'll get more people on and we'll get to dive into this. The sad thing in this is that unfortunately when you adopt children, especially from other countries, and I'm adopted, so I throw my boat, I'm in the boat, so don't fuss at me. I do know what I'm talking about. Even though I wasn't from another country, my twin brother and I went through some horrific things by the time we were even, we were placed in foster care, my twin brother and I, at 7 months, and between 7 months and 13 months, we were all but killed. I kid you not. In fact, when CPS came to rescue us, so to speak, they took us to the hospital and they told my grandmother that don't expect her to make it. And he's better off, but don't expect her to make it. So I do understand the drama and the pain and things that do happen to children in foster care. And so, unfortunately, a lot of times the agencies who do the adopting out, the adoption agencies and or the state, do not fully tell the parents what happened. That was in my case as well. Or what they tell the parents is not even the truth. They know what happened, but they decide that they're going to go in and, they're going to hide the truth and lie. And unfortunately, that happened in my case. And what they told my adoptive parents, and then what I, as an adult, 30 years old, met my biological family on both sides, went and got all my records, and I spoke to the woman who served as the adoption liaison for my parents when they adopted us. And she confessed. She confessed to me what had happened. Hold on. Just click on the link above where it says YouTube in my face. Sorry, somebody's trying to watch and they can't get on. So, what my mother to this day, my adopted mother, to this day believes happened is not exactly what happened at all. And in fact, she refuses to acknowledge that what she was told was a lie, and she believes the lie no matter what the truth is. And that's fine. That's her truth. That's what she wants to believe. I at least, thank you, Jesus, found out the truth for myself. I am so grateful I found the truth out for myself. And I'm blessed that they adopted me. Don't get me wrong. But unfortunately, a lot of times when children are adopted, even within the states, a lot of the information is not passed on. So the parents are not given the ability or the knowledge needed to handle when troubles come. Now, my parents were in that boat. I think if they had the information that was correct and true, then things would have been vastly different. As in this trial, when you adopt from overseas, you get far less of any truth, if any at all. Sometimes they don't give you anything, and sometimes they give you lies, and sometimes it's a mix of what happened and just the experiences they had in the foster care system overseas or here in the state in and of itself is traumatizing. Speaking for myself, I was placed in a foster care, and the people were into witchcraft, dark stuff. I won't go any further. That was between 7 months and 13 months. Then we were in an orphanage. Then we were in another foster care. Then we were in another orphanage or two. And at the age of 3, we were placed in a foster home, which was fabulous. And I got to talk to them. They're now deceased, but it was great to get to hear their voices and let them know I'm okay, and personally get the opportunity to say thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Worth, for what you did. We were their 100th foster kids, 99 and 100 in the foster kids. So, yeah, that was amazing. Yes, and were you able to access the live? Sorry. So, when we were adopted, my parents didn't know. They knew we were in the foster care system. They thought we were with the last foster home for multiple years, like 2 to 3 years, when we were 4.5. When we were adopted, almost our official adoption day came the day before our birthday. It was official in March, and we were with them in the fall. So within 6 months, it was finalized, but they were not given the full information. So unfortunately, I can kind of relate to some of the stuff with this case. In this case, he came from Ukraine. And let me tell you, poor kids. I mean, yeah, they saved his life literally by adopting him, but I'm sure they were not given all the information, and things started getting hard, and tensions began to build, and destructive behaviors started to come out, and they did everything. The parents did everything they could to help him. So we're going to deep dive into this case. Let me get this up and going. Okay, we're talking about Florida versus Dima Tower, a heartbreaking and disturbing case. At just the tender age of 21, Dima Tower, a Ukrainian orphan adopted into a Florida family, is accused of brutally red-rooming his adoptive parents, Cynthia and John Tower. The prosecutors say that drama snapped after years of tension in the home. He stabbed both of his parents to death. He then stole their car and took off. He was caught later, and he allegedly confessed, but his defense paints a much darker picture and a troubled childhood, mental struggles, and a young man failed by the system. Now, in court, the jury must decide, was this cold blooded Redrum or tragic breaking point of a lost soul? The victims. I'm going to share with you the victims. And they are, hold on, sorry. Here we go. Cynthia and John Tower were a loving couple from Northport, Florida. They were known in their community for their kindness, their faith, and their desire to help others, especially children in need. The Towers had adopted Dima from Ukraine orphanage years earlier, hoping to give him a better life and a family to call his own. They raised him alongside of their biological children and tried to help him overcome the trauma and challenges that came with his early life in Ukraine. Friends and neighbors described the couple as a devoted parent who gave Dima every opportunity. They were active in their church and known for their generosity, but over time, tensions reportedly grew inside the home. Dima struggled against and to adjust and clashed with his parents, and at times became very isolated. Those close to the family said that the Towers never gave up on him. They wanted him to heal. They wanted him to be a part of the family, and they would not abandon him. That to a tragic end in August of 2003, John and Cynthia were found unalived in their home, brutally murdered. Investigators said Dima stabbed them both multiple times before taking their car and fleeing. Their death shocked the small community and left loved ones heartbroken. Not only for the loss of the two good people, but the tragedy of the son accused of taking the lives of his parents, who had years earlier saved his. Dima Tower, let's talk about him. He was born in the Ukraine. Hold on a sec, guys. Sorry, allergies. He was born in the Ukraine and spent much of his early childhood in the orphanage before being adopted by John and Cynthia Tower. Now, the Florida couple, known for their faith and compassion, he came to the U.S. as a child, as a part of the Towers family, and the efforts they gave him stability, opportunity, love, and compassion. But according to those who knew the family, Dima struggled to adjust from the get-go. He reportedly had trouble upbringing overseas, showing signs of emotional trauma. Attachment issues were common in children raised in institutions. I can attest to that. Neighbors say that Towers were patient and loving, enrolled Dima in school and church and sports. However, as he grew older, the relationship became strained. Friends and family described the ongoing arguments and the rebellious behavior and the isolation, especially after Dima reached his late teens. By his early 20s, he was said to be living on and off with his parents, unemployed and struggling to find direction. Police records show no major criminal history before the killing. Just emotional instability and conflict within the family. Now, the police were called to Towers' Northport, Florida home on August the 31st of 23 after a 911 caller reported banging on her door screaming, "I need help!" Dima, covered in blood, was loading items into his car. When officers arrived at the scene, he allegedly ignored their commands to stop and led them on a pursuit across county lines. Deputies of the Sarasota County office deployed stop sticks to get the vehicle to stop. At that point, Dima allegedly ran from the car and into the woods. He was arrested the next day at a gas station. still wearing the same clothes. When the police searched the home of the victims shared with the defendant, they found Jennifer and Robbie lying head to head, face down, on the floor, covered in blood. Police officers noted the blood covering of the cushions in the living room, the bed in the master bedroom, and inside the front door and portions of the kitchen. Records revealed that Dima had a history of violence dating back to 2018 when the victims called police to report that Dima had pushed Jennifer. In 2019, Robbie had told the police that he wanted Dima removed from the home and said he slept with his door locked at nights out of fear. Whoa, y'all. See, literally sleeping with your doors locked with your child in the house is not a good sign. Dima was 14-year-old when he was adopted by the couple, and I'm going to stop right there. When you adopt a child of 14 years of age, they have already been set. The trauma is set. Everything about them is set. It runs deep, real deep. And it takes a lot of work and desire both by the parents and the child to heal. So they adopted him from the Ukraine in 2016 when he was 14. His defense is expected to focus on his mental health history and lasting effects of childhood trauma, portraying him as a deeply damaged young man, not a calculated killer. So now I want to talk about the legal aspects of this case. Florida versus Dima Tower. It's a hard one for me. Is charged with 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder for the killing of his adoptive parents, John and Cynthia Tower. She sometimes went by her middle name, Jennifer. In August of 2023, under Florida state law, the first-degree murder means prosecutors must prove intent and premeditation. So if they cannot prove premeditation, then they will then take a down lesser. The jury can do a lesser verdict if they do not find that he premeditatedly killed his parents. So it would drop down from a first degree to second or just manslaughter. They will have to prove that he planned and consciously decided to kill them. Each count carries a potential life sentence or even DP. Wow. Y'all, this is so sad. To be 14 years old, be adopted. I wonder what those parents were told and how they were educated. Because I'll be honest with you, most people adopting children at that age are probably not given the full story because they want to get those kids out of the system if they can. If they tell the parents everything, then the parents people won't want to adopt most of the time. How do I know this? I wasn't 14 when I was adopted, but my twin brother and I were not adopted until we were the age of 5. And that's old, in all honesty. And it is very rare, very, very rare that anybody would adopt a 14-year-old child. So now let's look at the prosecutor's side of the case. The prosecutors argued that Dima intentionally and brutally killed his parents during a domestic dispute, showing a clear premeditation and control over his actions. The violent nature of the attack, multiple stab wounds. His flight from the scene, taking the parents' car, running from the police, and then confessing after being captured. Now, statements from friends and neighbors show ongoing hostility towards him and towards his parents by him. They state is likely to argue that his actions were deliberate and not impulsive as a result to anger and resentment, not a mental illness. Now, the defense's strategy, Tower's defense focused on the mental health and trauma history. They claim that he suffered severe psychological issues from early life in the Ukraine orphanages and struggled to adapt to his new family life. The defense may argue that he snapped under an emotional pressure, acting in a moment of psychotic breakdown, not with intent. This could support a reduced charge of second-degree murder, unplanned killing, or even manslaughter. Did Dima Tower have the capacity to form intent to kill? Was this a crime of passion or premeditated double homicide? How much weight will the jury give his mental health and trauma background? So what are the possible outcomes? Conviction, first-degree murder, life in prison without possibility of parole, or potentially death, depending on the aggravating factors. Conviction for a lesser offense could result in decades-long sentence instead of life. Mental health finding, if found not guilty by the reason of insanity, very rare in Florida. He'll be placed in a secure psychiatric facility. The larger legal significance in this is the case raises questions about the justice system handling adopted children with traumatic backgrounds and whether mental illness can ever fully mitigate responsibility in a violent crime. Followed for the latest on Florida versus Dima Tower, the case that's shaking Florida. Tomorrow we will have day 1 of trial. So join me, and we'll be watching that at 8 a.m. in the morning. Then at 1, we'll be into the other trial that we've been watching. I do have a video we're going to watch. There's not much video footage on this case that I can legally share. You know what I mean? So we're going to watch this one real quick, and I'll be right back.
We've been driving through on our golf cart, waiting for them to be outside because we didn't want to bother them if they were busy in the house, and kind of regretting not doing that.
August 31st, 2023. A neighbor of Jennifer and Robbie Tower hear a female screaming at her door that she needs help. When she opens the door, nothing was there but a large amount of blood on the front steps.
It is a very, very disturbing scene.
Just kept saying, "You're lying. I don't believe you. This is not happening."
When police arrived, 21-year-old Dima Tower fled from the crime scene, where Jennifer and Robbie were dead inside their home from multiple stab wounds. Tower led police on a high-speed chase before being apprehended. Jennifer and Robbie adopted Dima from a Ukrainian orphanage when he was 14 after a series of mission trips. But according to records, Dima had a history of domestic violence dating back to 2018.
They did their best to make everyone feel like family, and that neighborhood is never, ever going to be the same.
Tower faces 2 counts of first-degree murder and has maintained a plea of not guilty.
So that. Okay, sorry about that. I had a video go off. I'm like, no, don't do that here. We don't want to get in trouble. We've been in trouble. We ain't doing that again. So this poor kid, I am looking, hold on. I love it when you get everything lined up and then all of a sudden it's not there. So the records from, let me read some of this to you. Come on, mouse. Gremlins, get out of here. Get out. There we go. The Northport, Florida records of the Northport Police Department in Sarasota County office show suspect in the Northport double homicide has a history of violence as far back as 2018. So that is a huge thing. Even though they say he has no major criminal history, they are saying that he does have a violent history. There was an incident reported by NPPD on December 8th of 2018 that shows officers responded to the home on Millicott Road just after 4 p.m. in reference to a family disturbance. The caller, Rob and Mouse cooperate. The caller, Rob Tower, and his wife, Jennifer, told deputies their son, Dima, had not spoken to them for several days. They also advised that Dima had pushed Jennifer in order to get him out of the bedroom. Now, Rob told the officers that he felt that his son needed to be Baker Act. However, it was later found that Dima did not meet the criteria for involuntary admission. So what is Baker Act? We learned about Baker Act in the Karen Reed trial. And that is where they can legally take you without your consent to a hospital and have you admitted for psychological evaluation if you meet certain criteria. Each state has a little bit different, but they're pretty much the same. Dima denied pushing his mother, and there was no probable cause for arrest at that time, but Towers were advised to contact the police again if needed. Then, April 28th of 19, Jennifer called MPPD and reported that Dima was missing around 7:30 p.m. She said he was upset after being grounded and rode away from home on his bike. Later, Dima was located by NPPD and taken back to the house. Then, a few hours later, around 11 p.m., Jennifer called and reported that Dima had once again left the home. He was once again located and reunited with his mother. I'm sure not to his pleasure. Then on July 28th and 19th, Dima was taken into custody by MPPD after a caller reported seeing him walk near Taldo Blade Elementary School with a BB gun. Dima claimed he had come to the area to shoot Army men toys, which were later found in his backpack. So he was going to line up his toys and BB shoot them. It was later found that the BB shooter had been purchased by Jennifer and for Dima without his father's knowledge. Dima was released into the custody of his parents without incident. October 22nd of 19, Rob contacted MPB and told the responding officer that he wanted Dima removed from the home due to ongoing behavioral issues. Rob said Dima had been physical in the past and was consistently verbally abusive. He said that he slept with his door locked at night out of fear for Dima's actions. When the deputy attempted to speak to Dima, he was not responsive. The deputy explained the eviction process to Rob, as well as how to get an emergency protection order. Records do not show any pursuance of an eviction or emergency protection order against Dima, because at this point, he is an adult over the age of 18. In October 22nd and 20, Dima was arrested by SCSO on domestic violence charge. Deputies were called to the home where the victim explains that Dima had pushed him across the kitchen. The victim had multiple wounds on his head and appeared to be bleeding. The victim said Dima continued pushing and smacking him, at which time he attempted to call 911, but Dima smacked the phone out of his hands. He then punched the victim several times in the face and head. When speaking with the deputies, Dima claimed that the victim had been mentally abusing his mother. He admitted to physically harming the victim, and probable cause was developed to place him under arrest. Court records show that Dima pled not guilty to the charges, and they were later dropped. Wow, y'all. That's sad. June, is there any commenting going on? I haven't seen any for almost 30 minutes. Can you comment to make sure that things are working? I'd appreciate it. Mm, I would appreciate it. Thank you, love. Thank you, darling. Oh, there we go. So they have been having multiple court dates for this trial. I don't know. I don't know, June. That's a good question. But chat is awfully quiet tonight. I hope y'all are okay. Oh, I hope you're listening. This is a little bit unusual. I will tell you that. So I'm going to read a little bit of this again because there's a lot of little information that's kind of adding up here. Shortly before midnight, August 34th, the Norfolk Police Department received a call to 1240 Millcott Road to investigate the death of 2 people. A neighbor made the call after answering the door in the middle of the night and finding a woman covered in blood, screaming she needed help. You live in Florida and don't know anything about this case. Well, it looks like everybody's going to be covering this case right now because there's nothing else to cover. There's only 1 or 2 cases out there, so this is going to be really covered a lot, in my humble opinion. When the officers arrived, they observed 21-year-old Dima Tower covered in blood, shedding the trunk of a black 2012 Chevrolet Sonic. I didn't know there was Chevrolet Sonic. In front of the home, he ignored their commands and he left. Inside the home, they found the bodies of the man and woman both face down, appeared to have been stabbed in the back, while unknown wounds cover the woman's head. The bed in the master bedroom, much of the kitchen, and the living room couches were soaked in blood. So what I want to know is so did the mother leave the house after she was stabbed and covered in blood and went to the neighbor and then went back to the house? That kind of confusing to me. If a neighbor sister said she came to my house covered in blood and asked me to call and call for help, then why did she go back to the house? Why did you not bring her into your house? I don't care about blood on my floor, Blue. It'll clean. I'll get new carpet if I have to, but Boo, your life is more important. So why did she go to a neighbor and then go back to the house? I don't know. Towers fled south on I-75, eventually getting off at mile marker 170 on Kings Highway and heading north again on 175. Once back on in Northport, the deputies eventually stopped the car with the spike strips. But once Towers stopped accelerating, he fled into the nearby woods. Well, probably for her husband in shock, but I want to know why the neighbor let her go back. Maybe if she stayed and they put enough pressure on those wounds, she might be alive. So he was arrested. He was found. Coordinated efforts between the Northport Police Department, MPPD, SCSO led to his arrest at Laurel Road and Knights Trail at 8 a.m. Tower was then taken to Vince Police Department for questioning. Jim Quinn, operating principal and broker of records for Keller Williams, tells ABC7, "We are deeply saddened to confirm that 2 of our agents, so they were realtors or brokers, have been involved in a tragic accident. They will be missed." Yada, yada, yada. That is so sad, y'all. It's breaking my ever-loving heart. Let me see if I can pull up the court appearance information. Just close that. It's making this difficult. Okay. This is a video. Let's see how long it is. Of course, I'm going to leave this room for a minute. So, unfortunately, nowadays, I understand that. Okay, I'm going to run this at the risk of getting in trouble. Give you a quick, and I'll only do this one video. I'm not going to do a bunch of videos like this because I don't want to get myself on the radar. Okay. There we go. Let's play.
Short time ago. And take a look at this. You are looking at new video taken this morning from a Sarasota County courtroom. Dima Tower and his lawyers asking the court for more time to prepare. And the judge agreeing, pushing Tower's next case management hearing to March 5th. Back in August of last year, Northport police discovering Tower's parents dead inside a home with multiple stab wounds. And they also found the 21-year-old in front of the house covered in blood. He ignored commands from officers and then started speeding away in his car. And officers were able to find Tower just off I-75 near Venice. Tower was indicted on 2 counts of felony murder and has pled not guilty.
Your creativity relies on.
Oh, we're not doing that. Nope. 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 So, y'all, what do y'all think about this case so far? What are y'all thinking? What are your thoughts? Are we good to cover this case? Are you going to? Why is the one I just set not there? It is. ATM. That's not what I want. Okay, you see my straw. There we go. I know what I want to look at. Give me a second. Give me a momento. I know what I want to find. I want to look something up. Something I didn't think about. Let me see something. So I want to read this to you. This is what the conditions that this young child grew up in. Conditions in the Ukrainian orphanages, officially known as boarding school or entrance, are widely documented by human rights organizations as severe, often involving neglect, physical restraint, abuse, and a lack of basic stimulation and support. The widespread neglect and abuse investigations organized by Disability Rights International and Human Rights Watch have uncovered systematic issues, including a lack of adequate care and protection. The children, especially those with disabilities, have been found in filth and secretion. Try not to get emotional, triggering. Of institutions, sometimes covered in their own waste and physically restrained, tied to beds or wheelchairs, and left without stimulation or human contact. The lack of resources and overcrowding, the facilities often have limited resources and insufficient staff, leading to the poor quality of care. The war has exacerbated this, with some operational orphanages becoming overcrowded due to an influx of children from war-torn areas. Poor physical and emotional health. The children often suffer from developmental delays and physical degradation due to physical degeneration due to the inactivity and the lack of consistent attention and therapy. Meals may be high in carbohydrates but low in protein. Emotional deprivation is prevalent, leading to a significant amount of psychological variables amongst the children. Social orphans versus true orphans. Vast majority of the children in these institutions, estimated 90 to 98%, are not true orphans, but have at least one living parent. They are placed in state care primarily due to family poverty, lack of support for disabilities in the community, and discrimination. Vulnerability and exploitation. Graduates are highly vulnerable to human trafficking, sex trafficking, exploitation, and forced labor due to the lack of life skills and support upon leaving the institution. Typically around the age of 16, within some of the institutions, staff or older residents have been implicated in abusing and exploiting. Soviet era system. The system is remnant of the Soviet era, designed for mass institutionalization rather than family-based care. Despite past government pledge to reform and move towards deinstitutionalization, well, that's a long one. Deinstitutionalization process has been slow and inconsistent, often hindered by the lack of community support and services and continued investment in the institutional model. The impact of the war is ongoing, as ongoing war has made the situation critical. Children have been forced to shelter in basements without electricity or running water and have been forcibly transferred to Russia or gone missing. Human rights organizations and the Ukrainian government, as a part of the EU, aspiration advocates for the urgent dismantling of the system, emphasizing the need for family-based care, such as foster care, family-type orphanages, and support of vulnerable families to prevent child separation. Wow. I think this case has some different roads, but we have not seen before. Example, international adoption and cultural differences. Yes. Woo. Now, this is my camera. Come on, focus in. Bring it in. Thank you very much. Hello, it's Brit. Good afternoon. I'm wondering if there's not a displacement issue around the defense's case. I think there will be. This is going to be an emotionally hard case and emotionally charged. I will be honest, for me. See, my adoption story is remember when I told you between the ages of 7 months and 13 months, I was held in a home that practiced witchcraft. There was satanic ritual abuse that was done to both myself and brother. This is documented and told to me by the social worker before she died. She was like 86 when I met her, and she still had our files. And in fact, she even had our pictures that my mother would send her, my adopted mother would send her, on her refrigerator with her grandbabies. She wanted to adopt us, but was unable to because of the rules. And they went to do a well check, a surprise one. We were about 13 months old. When they entered the home, nobody was there. And unfortunately, fortunate for my twin and I, but not fortunate for the family that had us, the husband and wife. They came in because they heard us crying and nobody was answering the door. So they entered. In my bedroom, they had my brother and I separated. In the little room that I had, it was just a crib, mattress, no sheet, no blanket, no pillow, no stuffy, no clothes, just that's it. In amongst all of that wonderful stuff that we were supposed to have were multiple bottles of soiled milk, to the point it was dried and mold filled in the bottles. I was in the crib covered with feces. They picked me up and my twin. My twin was in much better condition than I was. Took us to the hospital. They had to shave our heads. We had multiple baths to remove patches of fecal matter. We smelled so bad the entire hospital unit stunk. we were so malnourished. They said I looked like one of those little African babies with a big round belly, but just no legs, no arms, and rib cages. I was so malnourished that they told my grandmother that I probably wouldn't live. I only weighed 11 pounds at 13 months. And so my grandmother, after the hospital got me stable and they did what they could do, but they told her, you can take her home, but don't get your hopes up. She homemade baby food and she nursed me to health. Sort of. I was not able to maintain my weight for many years. When I was adopted, the records show that I was 28 inches tall and weighed 25 pounds at 4.5 years of age. Foster care system, well, this was back in the 70s, okay? So a lot has changed. But I can relate to what this kid went through. Luckily, I have no memory of it. He does. And the fact that he lived in such an environment, I feel bad for the family of the family that took this child in. They thought they were doing good. They thought they could save him. They thought they could undo the wrong and raise him and give him a life that he never would have been afforded. That is true. But what I want to know, what adoption agency they went through here, what agency handled the adoption there, and what were they not told? What really happened to this kid? So 14, they had him 7 years before he killed him. And my twin had anger issues. And that's all I can say because I'm not going to put his stuff out there. But I will tell you, there comes within the gut of your gut, in the very pit of your soul, you're wounded, but you don't know what's wrong. There's fear, but you don't know why you're afraid. There's anger, but you don't know why you're angry. So it was horrible. And it takes a lot of counseling. It takes a lot of mental health care. It takes a lot of physical care, spiritual care, whatever you want to call it. How much of that were these parents giving this child? It sounds like they did everything they could, but to no avail. Was this public or private adoption? Public or private adoption has nothing to do with orphanages, in all honesty. Once a state owns you, that doesn't matter. A public adoption means, of course, that a parent who gave birth, the biological parent on a public adoption, and knows where you are, knows who's adopted you, and they know who the parent. So both parents know each other. A lot of times, depending on the level of comfortableness in the agreement of the public adoption, sometimes sometimes the adoptive parents meet up with the biological parents 2 or 3, 4 times a year, sometimes monthly, and let them have visitations. Sometimes it's just photos and documents and, pictures of school and artwork and things like that in the public adoption. Public adoption means both sides of the adoption know who's the opposite parents. Private, no, I, as the mother of the child, wouldn't know who got them, and the mother who's adopting the child wouldn't know who's adopting them. Now, agencies, well, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Hold on. Thank you so much. You get some good sleep. Talk to you tomorrow. Friend of mine was watching, and they have to be up at 4 a.m, so they're going to bed. So the thing is, that when you adopt from an agency outside the US, you can't count on anything they tell you. My sister-in-law, ex-sister-in-law, adopted a baby from China. Now, they were told she was turning a year old shortly after they arrived in China, after they adopted her. In reality, when I saw that baby, I was like, number one, she was well cared for in the agency, in the foster home orphanage that she came from. That baby was well fed and cared for. But that baby was huge for a 1-year-old. To me, I thought she was more like 15, 16 months. I thought she was at least 6 months older than what they were telling them. And come to find out, after being in the US for a while and doctors and physicals and watching the milestone markers and everything, she was delayed in some areas, of course. It's deemed that she's at least 6 months older than her reported age. Now, would that have changed their desire to adopt this child? Absolutely not. But in China and all these other countries, they fib the ages. If a child is 4 months and looks 2 months, they're going to call it 2 months. They don't care. They want the money and they want the kid gone. They don't want the responsibility. Not kidding. Not kidding. So anyway, that is this trial. So warning, it may get a little bit touchy for some of us, but we will get through it. All right. So any questions before I say good night? I've been on almost an hour and I didn't want to make this too long. Tomorrow at 8 a.m., we're going to start this trial, and then we will also cover, so we'll be double trialing tomorrow. We'll be live with this trial at first. The Florida trial will be, why can't I remember the name? Devin Michaels trial will be tomorrow at 1:00. So what we'll do is, if they start while this trial, the Dima Tower trial is on, if they start during the lunch break, then we will start that one at lunch and then go through it at break and then go through it after this trial ends. Now, this one being, no, this is a Florida one. Sorry, Devin Michaels is New Mexico, as Las Vegas or New Mexico. So Dima Towers is 8 a.m. in the morning. Devin Michaels is 1:00. And we're going to watch this trial, Dima's trial, all day long. The Devin Michaels is going to be during breaks. And then when this one ends, we're going to pop straight into the other trial and finish it up. There you go. I finally got it right. It's a mouthful. So we are going to be doing 2 trials this week. I'm hoping we're going to get close to being done with these trials. June, can you find any of the content creators that we like? You know what I mean? Who potentially could be live right now that we can do a raid? I'd love to do a raid. Can we find a raid? I want to find a raid. Anybody that we know that's live? Hi, honey. So I think it'd be cool to do a raid, but I don't know who's live in my neck of the woods. Because I want to be able to send us on over to somebody else and bless somebody, because sometimes we get raids and I only think it's fair that we raid somebody else. What do y'all think? I'm trying to be, I'm going to pay it forward. So I'm going to give her a minute to look at that. I'm going to go over in settings and get ready to put that content information into my thing. I've got to set it up. But I want to thank everybody for joining so much this evening. I know it was a spontaneous live. So I got it up, June. If you know somebody, in Discord in private message. Will you throw me the link? What are my new unreads? We got a breaking news. What's the breaking news? No, we got breaking news, y'all. Oh my gosh, June, while you look for that, I got breaking news. Okay. OMG, y'all.
Breaking news.
TikTok influencer who posted videos supporting military is publicly executed by armed men in Malawi. Authorities say armed men in Mali, Mali, killed TikTok influencer who had posted videos in support of West African nation military. Authorities said Monday. The young TikToker's name is Marami Kaisi. We're going to pull that up. Oh my gosh, y'all. Y'all, no. What is it? I mean, come on, people. Oh my God, she is beautiful. Hey. I'll leave that up while we read. She was abducted by armed men on Friday while she was at a weekly market in Ekel. The following day at dusk, the same men who brought her back to Independence Square in Tonka and executed her in front of a crowd. Yehaya Tendina, the mayor or whatever, told the Associated Press, the mayor of Tonga in Timbuktu region, Mamadou Kanepo, confirmed the killing and said he didn't have any more information. Tonka is a village near and along the Niger River, roughly 93 miles from Timbuktu. Members of the Al-Qaeda affiliate Jamaat at Nusrat ul-Islam wa al-Muslim, or JNIM, are known to operate there. JNIM, which was formed in Mali in 2017, has become one of Africa's deadliest jihadist groups within the space of just a few years, according to the BBC. No group has taken responsibility for this killing. Kasey, who was not a member of the military, sometimes posted images of herself in military fatigues. Okay, this is one of these nations. If you wear fatigues or camouflage, they will kill you. My papa has gone to Africa more than 50 times. I've heard stories. To her name, more than 150,000 followers, which is thought to have drawn attention from the armed men. Sisi received death threats several days before she was abducted, according to the Timbuktu mayor. The mayor has been battling armed forces groups since 2012 at a fight that he has escalated over the past decade. The military seized power in 2020 on the pretext of curtailing the insecurity. Another military officer seized power in the coup the following year. Insecurity was worsened since then. According to the monitoring groups, armed groups, preliminarily the JNIM, operate a large swaths of rural regions. The lockdown nation is currently under the fuel blockade by the JNIM. Social media influencers have been targeted by the violence around the world in recent months. In August, social media influence Ariel Mejia Polanco, I don't know, I'm doing the best I can with these names, was shot while driving alone in her car in Mount Vernon, New York. In June, another TikTok influencer, Jesus Samarinto, was unalived during a live stream after denouncing members of the Tren de Aragua criminal gang, an allegedly corrupt police officer. Also in June, a Pakistani police said that 17-year-old TikToker Sanya Youssef was shot by a man and died who had repeatedly contacted her online. In May, social media influencer Valeria, whatever, can't do it, was shot dead during a live stream on TikTok in Mexico. The Red Room in Mexico shocked the nation, where killings and kidnappings are a daily occurrence and brought into sharp focus both by the femicide epidemic and the growing violence against influencers. Oh, beautiful Mija, rest in peace. May the Lord bless your family. May the Lord give them comfort at this time. Yeah, I know Michael's trial was in Nevada. I corrected myself. Well, there's no one live at this time for us to do a redirect. So we will not be doing a redirect. We will not do one tonight. That is so sad, y'all. That just breaks my ever loving heart. Good night, boo. Why did that happen? Why did my green screen do that? I didn't turn off my green screen, y'all. It's still selected. I don't know why it did that. I guess it decided it was time to go to bed. So with that, we're going to go to bed. Yes, may the Lord bless her. Oh. That kills me. Absolutely kills me. Breaks my heart. I know we had a small but mighty group tonight. I am going to try and do more and more of these. I hope I did a good job. I hope it was okay. I hope you learned something and that you enjoyed it. I pray that this particular case will not trigger you too much, but I will be live at 8 o'clock in the morning with opening statements, jury instructions, opening statements, and witnesses. But we are going to learn a lot. Oh, wow. So we will see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me. Y'all have a good night's sleep. Love on your families. And till tomorrow, I'll be here bright and early at 8 a.m., a cup of coffee, and ready to go. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. I hope you have an awesome day. Till next time.